Well, greetings. My name is Dr. Dean Blevins, and it's my privilege to welcome you to CED 630, Ministry with Children, and provide for you a brief orientation to the course itself, as well as an introduction to the nature of children's ministry today. To start with, thinking about the overall class, one way to understand CED 630 is that this is a basic course with the children's ministry's emphasis, thinking of primarily addressing the course from the perspective of being a children's pastor or at least a director of children's ministry, though we are going to really stress more the pastoral role as the course continues. Now, this is a class that has a focus on the comprehensive ministry of pastoring children. And so if you are a student who has not had a lot of experience in children's ministry, you'll see this as a introductory class to the field. If you're an experienced children's pastor, and I know in graduate theological education we sometimes have students who actually come with extensive experience, you may see this as much as a refresher and a kind of spot check, if you will, of the various components that go into children's ministry, and sort of be able to assess and gauge yourself in light of that broad view. As much as we're going to focus on the practice of ministry, there are some what you might call understanding components, understanding the nature of children, understanding the nature of ministry, that we'll be addressing as well, particularly since many classes these days in the MACFD include some asynchronous components, in other words, online posting, where you're given an opportunity to just sort of test your own self-understanding of the class through regular reading and online engagement. It does include the assumption that you have contact with a children's ministry in a local church and that you are at some level active within local children's ministry. Again, if you're a professional children's pastor, that's not going to be a major concern. However, if you're a student, perhaps just entering Nazarene Theological Seminary, or perhaps transferring from a different degree program to the MACFD with a focus on children's ministry, let me encourage you right away to be considering where you're working in a local church that will provide you exposure to children's ministry, either as a volunteer, as a very part-time staff, or at least aligning yourself with a seasoned children's pastor who can provide both access to the children's ministry as well as mentorship as you're engaged within the course itself. There are some basic requirements of this class. The first one is reading. And one way to think about the reading in the course, which is extensive, is that we're actually reading it much like you would in a traditional seminar where the responsibility rests with the student to engage the material and then bring to the course those components of the class which are most meaningful, most challenging, most significant, and discussing them, albeit primarily through the online components of the course, through the weekly forums. I really do want to stress that it is not incumbent upon you to summarize everything that you're reading each week, but it is important that you engage the reading meaningfully and you bring a deep sense of understanding to the online posting. So we are not looking for just mere editorialization of what you liked and didn't like, but are there key insights, key concerns that resonate with you, that challenge you, that provide a new perspective, and how will you capture that in such a way that you forward the conversation, albeit through online engagement, much like would happen within a seminar around the same course. So that component may at times be the most challenging for some students, particularly if you're not familiar with online engagement. The postings do not have to be massive, but they do have to be substantive. They do have to speak to something that's meaningful in the reading for it to count toward class participation, and online engagement is a major part of your class participation in this given course. In addition, we will have some time together, primarily by visiting the Ignite conference, that is sponsored by the Nazarene Children's Leadership Network. Ignite is a professional children's pastors conference for the most part, even though it does open its doors to volunteer and part-time workers in children's ministry. And the conference is designed to provide workshops as well as plenary sessions around themes that are a part of children's ministry. Now, to be honest, as an episodic conference, it doesn't always offer the same conversations as we'll have in a comprehensive readings class like this one, nor will it always neatly fit within some of the other components from the comparative review and the portfolio. But Ignite does provide us an opportunity to be together and also be in the presence of other children's pastors. And during the conference, we will probably spend time first as a class together, perhaps around meals or during some of the breaks, discussing the course itself, but also then reflecting upon the presentations at Ignite in the way in which they enrich and inform our understanding of children's ministry as we move forward. Third major component is the comparative review. I want to stress this may be the most analytic of the tasks in the course. Graduate theological education almost always includes some component of testing your critical thinking skills. And for the sake of this class, the comparative review is a good beginning point of asking yourself how you read work in a way that not only appreciates the work, but actually gets at the true meaning and some of the real key components of the argument within those particular texts for the sake of a good, solid review. There are guidelines in your syllabus to help you do that. There is normally a fairly methodological way of understanding the key argument within a book and how that argument unfolds. And if you've been out of graduate work or been out of even undergraduate work for a period of time, I'd recommend that you spend some time looking at that. There's a great book, by the way, called The Craft of Research. That's a good book to own, not only from the standpoint of writing research, but also from the standpoint of analyzing how other people have put together articles and arguments within their writings as time goes along. Final major component of this class is the portfolio of ministry competencies. That is a key component of the course that provides you an opportunity to either develop or curate some of the most important components that would guide you in a children's ministry within a local congregation. Portfolios actually serve multiple functions. The first function is actually to demonstrate the quality of your learning in and through the class. And so at one level, you're to use the portfolio as a way of demonstrating what you have learned as a part of this class and how that learning has informed your daily practice in ministry. For those of you who are experienced children's pastors, that may mean that you'll be pulling from existing materials, but you'll be nuancing them to show how at least the course has influenced some of that material, if nothing more than including commentary of how those elements and the practices you're already engaged in are in dialogue with each other as a result of this course. If you're new to children's ministry, you may be creating some items before the end of the semester that you never had to do before, and that's fine. You'll be doing that with a specific ministry context in mind. Let me stress, that's why we want you to be involved in a children's ministry somewhere. But you'll be doing it as if you were taking leadership and having to develop those kinds of resources as time goes along. So the basic requirements include reading and engagement online, visiting Ignite, engaging in an analytic comparative review, but you'll spend a majority of your time really looking at the portfolio of ministry competencies and developing that as the semester goes along. So I would keep those components that are already available to you in the syllabi, the kinds of things we hope to see at the end of the semester. Keep those components handy as we go throughout the class so that you can be working on them, writing, editing, re-editing them as you go along. This works a lot better than waiting till the end of the semester and then suddenly having to recreate a majority of the portfolio. The components of it are going to be due early in the semester. At least this will allow you to be thinking about it as time progresses. So I hope that helps you understand how the overall class is designed to provide this very broad, very basic understanding of children's ministry.